All right, getting right into it. Israel, cold case. Betty Shabazz says she was for the streets. Giving all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashim Kadash, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, double honors to the apostle, elder, bishops, great millstone, much salutation to the brothers, teaching word for the hope for elect, soon to be elect, most high will to the hope for extended elect, Shalom, blessings. Men, women, and children. And it's from accountable commentary. And I guess it's the actual interview of her down here, where it's Betty Shabazz, widow of Malcolm X, interview 1992, November, reeling in the year's archive. So she breaks it all down. This for no monetary gain or money. This particular point of the clip right here is where she's explaining that, she'd tell Malcolm X she would go one way and then she'll go the opposite way, basically the other way. And she felt like she was held down and kept back from, society, so to speak, or her freedom. And she expressed that he was too disciplined for her, too focused in his, his what they call his calling, to be, a teacher or whatever. They might say prophet, but he was a false prophet. But here's some of her saying what I just mentioned.
A memory of bad times when I went to go someplace, or when I told him I was going to be one place and I went another place, and he was.
You see, she told him, Malcolm X, that she will be one place and she went another place. Hold on.
Very upset with me. All of that now I can handle. But there's also times when I really kind of give him hell.
There was times where she gave him hell. Oh no.
And this is when she was young, so more vibrant, more strength as far as, woman's strength in her youth. She had a head cover because that's the Muslim custom. But like us, similar to this truth, nothing's really different. I mean, they did teach a different thing. I was into that stuff for a few years, and then I was like, I fell back from it because I was, I bought the Malcolm X tapes and the book, and I think Elijah Muhammad book. I forget what it was. How to be a black man or something. And when I was reading it, it was just talking about the so-called white man, how we need to be equal and we had to need rights too. And I was like, damn, this don't seem like they calling the white man the devil and all that. So I forget what the particular caption of the book was. But, even in the Malcolm X movie, it shows that Malcolm X acknowledged the chosen people of God as so-called black people. And he didn't mention Native Americans, which they are, and so-called Latinos. And he mentioned that this very Son of God was a so-called black man. He quoted that scripture in Revelation. So they knew the truth, and they came out, I think, this about around the same time with Abba Bivens, and, well, West in the 7 and so forth. So I think the so-called white man put them two specimens out there, Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, to try to upset the real truth of the Hebrew Israelites, us being Israelites. But, and I think this guy was a friend of Malcolm X, and she would invite him to the crib, or she would have suggested that he he get invited to the crib, I guess, for dinner or whatever, or just talk about, I don't know, shoot the breeze, whatever. But I'm pretty sure she had men in his house, his bedroom. Talking about Malcolm X, her husband's bedroom. She left her husband 3 times. She said that out of her own mouth. So what you think she was doing when she left her husband those 3 times? And I don't know how long the period of time was that passed by each of those times. I'm pretty sure it was a fairly lengthy amount of time. And her complaint was like, she don't get to have no freedom too much. Just like our women today in the Israelite, being an Israelite. Yeah, you with your brothers too much. Y'all always talking. That's all y'all talk about is the scriptures. They basically saying the same thing. We're too disciplined. We're too focused on our mission, and that's how women are. Not to say we have to put up with the bullshit, but you're gonna get that. I mean, it talks about being troubled in the man married. He's gonna have trouble in the flesh. And she talks again a little bit. Let me see what she says this time. I won't play it too much.
Malcolm X.
She was
when
on
I read
Oprah
that
show
book,
though.
and that part came up,
I guess she put out her own book too.
automatically knew, well, there might be some truth to this. That came to my, extensive material on Malcolm X. When I read that book and that part came up, no. Unhappy. Let me tell you something. Betty Shabazz was for the streets. You don't have to like what I have to say or what I'm saying. You don't have to like my videos. But one thing you would never say or can't say is that AC is making things up. This is made up. The stuff that AC is talking, this is made. No.
So let me see what he said right quick.
Huh?
Put me in a position like that. To be the only one to go to his house.
Is it responsible when I had been reared to be happy?
He was committed, responsible, and disciplined.
Right.
Yeah. Committed, responsible, and disciplined.
She was reared to be happy, meaning she was unhappy with him because of discipline.
Talking about Malcolm X.
Because of responsibilities.
That's crazy. Same thing with us, man.
This that Disney fairy tale that's been going on. This ain't new. Message. This is not new. So, this is made up. When I read that book, right? And I read extensive material on Malcolm X. When I read that book and that part came up, I automatically knew, well, there might be some truth to this. That came to my, automatically, because I knew how they are. I just know how Keisha, I said, there might be some truth to this right here. And then I started doing, background. This is a long time ago.
And you would think.
And then when you start, digging into it, I'm like, yeah, okay. So Malcolm X was going through it also. You didn't see anybody talking about her in a negative. Even when that was put out, you didn't see anybody talking about her in the negative.
Yeah, and I think this is the very episode she's on Oprah, I think.
They only thought about themselves. Listen to her. I want you to listen to her. This is Betty Shabazz.
memory of bad times when I went to go someplace, or when I told him I was going to be one place and I went another place, and he was.
You see, y'all don't know
She
about
said something
that,
else
right?
too. Hold on.
She left him 3 times. Why?
So it really don't matter how much money you got, who you
Who
are.
really
You could be the
stood-
president of the United States. You could be the richest man alive, and these women still want what they want. They still want independence. They still want all the stuff that they desire of the world. I'm trying to find that part where,
these
anyway, I was trying to find that part where she said she left him 3 times. I think that's later on in the video. But, you know, you do get a possession when you get a woman. It says that in the scriptures in Sirach. Let me get that. Sirach 36:24. In the Apocrypha, he that getteth a wife getteth a possession, a help like it to himself, a pillar of rest. And she said she calls them hell. I think she meant that she calls them hell more than, you know, the average person would think. You know, more than what it appears to be. And he probably loved them trips away from her, because he know when he got home, he had to deal with some BS. And then, you know, they had children. I forget how many children he had. I think it's like 3 or 4. But, you know, he probably leave her with the children while he go out on a mission. And she probably like, yeah, I'm just sitting here taking care of his kids, all whatever the case may be. And it's always like that. It says 1 Timothy 5:11 says, but the younger widows refuse, for when they have begun to wax wanton against Yahweh Shai, which is the Son of God, so-called black man. Christ means anointed one. Mashiach is not a religion. It's not his last name. Jesus is not his name. Yahweh Shai, they will marry, having damnation because they have cast off their first faith. And withal they learn to be idle, wandering about from house to house. That's what they do. Go to house. They want to go to their girlfriend's house up the street. Even if they like triggered by you a certain way, they be like, I just don't feel right. I'm gonna go with Cheryl's house or whatever. You know, she lives up the street. She walks, you know, and gossip with her, and guess who she's gossip about? Her own man, her own husband, or with a new dude, or a dude from the job. It's bad, man. And not only idle, but tattlers also, and busybodies, speaking things which they are not. Busybodies. And that's what she wanted to be, busybody. You want to go there, place there. She tell them she's over there, here, when she's really over there. Busybody. She want to be, you know, they want to shop. They want to be seen. They want, you know, I guess all of them dream about being on some kind of, you know, show, a Hollywood carpet or some kind of model, you know, meeting their favorite celebrities, being in that spotlight, taking pictures, Instagram, personal YouTube videos, all that BS. Now, goes on and on, man. These are the women pretty much of Babylon. Isaiah 32:10, many days and years shall you be troubled, ye careless women, for the vintage shall fail, the gathering shall not come. Yeah, because women, all these gathering places around the world are because of women. Your Thanksgiving gathering, I'm just using a basic example, but overall, it's a general too. But you know, all this Thanksgiving meeting and barbecue is real. Well, not so much barbecue, but it's because of the women. You know, and then you have a man that get with his homeboys and be like, we're gonna watch the game. Then she'll say, well, I want to be I'm one of the boys. I like football too. You know, I like to wrestle too and get be as one of the boys. You're not supposed to be as one of the boys. Women's supposed to be soft-spoken, soft-skinned, you know, not a hard body and shit, you know, long hair, pretty. You know, their glory is their head, like it says in the scriptures. But you, like I said, you can have all the money in the world, and these women are never satisfied. Prince even said that in his song. He said, maybe I'm just like my father, too bold. Maybe I'm just like my mother. She's never satisfied. And that's kind of going back to Eve. Listen to these philosophies of the devil and said, you know, he know the day of the eat thereof that should become as gods, knowing good and evil, and you should be, you know, as it shall make ye wise, you know. And they thrive on these entitlements in the earth, and you know, these power moves when it comes to climbing the ladder to success. And a lot of that has to do with education and religion and politics. You know, a congresswoman, a first mayor they want to be, or a newscast woman, you know. But if they're in the industry, singer, actress, and then they'll get a role to where they play, they're just acting, but they have a husband in their role. And it's for a 6 month, almost to a year shoot. And then they'll get on another movie or a TV show. Like Bill Cosby, I forget how many seasons that lasts, but he got a whole wife, and Felicia Rashad has a husband, and they, you know, they're husband and wives on the TV show, and they're sleeping in bed, kissing each other and all that. So, you know, and we know how the Hollywood people get down. They don't care. You know, they make money. And that's the thing about it is, too, the scriptures say the love of the money is root to all evil. When you have money like that and you in love with money like that, you know, you get prideful. You could buy anything. You can buy women. You could buy yourself out of a situation. If you get caught up in a lawsuit, you could, you know, you could start your own business within that, with that money. And, you know, you could be, it's all kind of stuff you could do with money. And it does say that in the scripture, money answers all things. And money is a defense. So you could defend yourself with money, you know. But the love of money is root to all evil. But anyway, so, you know, my main point to this, it doesn't really depend, you know, Jake trying to fix his hair and thinking he's cute and shit, and yeah, I got to get handsome for these women. I got to shave my beard and make sure that, you know, she no facial hairs, because they like them young and all that. Oil with scalp and shit. Wear suits or try to dress nice, gold chain and all that. They don't, yeah, they're attracted to that, but they're not really, you know. You can have all that and they'll still take you to jail. They'll still try to take you off the earth. Or they'll still, like I said, you could be married. You could buy her a diamond ring after, like, you know, saving up for it for $30,000 out of your paycheck. And then as soon as the argument come, she think you cheating or whatever the argument is about, and she throw the ring down a drain, you know, flush the ring down the stool, throw it down the drain or the sink, or just throw it and like it ain't shit. You know, like that Chris Brown said, that Chris Brown song, "These hoes ain't loyal." He said, you didn't spend your ring on it, and you didn't spend your ring on it, and it's all for nothing. Like, cause he know, and he's the person out there sleeping with these men's wives. Usher is another one. The steal your girl type of that, steal your girl demon. That's a fucking demon right there, man. But yeah, going back to that picture. Nah, this ain't it. I think this is it. When she was young, and look at that. And then when she's explaining to you on the Oprah show, look, she's all smiles, like she ain't thinking about Malcolm X, his death. And remember, these are, so to speak, they became celebrities. I mean, Malcolm X was a celebrity. So was she. You know? So was Martin Luther King. So was who was that other? Coretta Scott King. I'm pretty sure she played the same kind of role as Betty Shabazz. She was sleeping with powerful men. It's almost like that Monica Lewinsky thing with who is that? Bill Clinton. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And Hillary Clinton, she turned out to be a lesbian. She was a lesbian already. It's just, and then they'll play those cards like, well, this is a marriage. Somebody cheated on somebody. They call it cheating. They don't call it adultery either, because they know it got to do something with the scriptures. But they don't want us to relate anything to the scriptures. But look, yeah, it says Malcolm X was dealing with the same Keisha black men be getting, dealing with to this very day. Nothing new under the sun. And you would think back then they were more, I would say, grounded. But, you know, when you get into the powerful arenas and the powerful elements, and you got money and you're dealing with, you know, traffic all the time, I'm talking about the traffic of people, and you're visiting places and mansions, and, you know, and you're talking to real estate people and all that kind of shit, there's more temptation, you know. But the women still, they still got down like this back then, you know. That's why GMS don't accept women on that level, as far as being around and being in the congregation in the midst, you know. And it tells you in the scripture, don't sit in the midst of women, but just being around to where they have to be incorporated with it into everything. If I'm saying it right, they have to be involved with everything. Nah, man. And then, so judgment took place. Betty Shabazz died from severe third-degree burns after a fire set by her 12-year-old grandson. She passed away on June 23rd, 1997 at the age 63, which is quite, you know, it ain't that young. I mean, it's not that old. You know, it's not really young, but it's not old. 63, especially this day at Jacob B. Medical Center in New York. The third-degree burns over 80% of her body. Now, guess what? I think they were in that same house. She was in that same house that she married Malcolm X. So, as far as what I read in the article a while ago, you know how back then they were throwing, you know, they were terrorizing Jake. They was, you know, breaking in or throwing bottles into the window, throwing smoke. What do they call them? Them smoke bombs, I think. Whatever, the Mazatas, what did they? You know, I forget what exact word for them. So I guess either she or he, when he was alive, agreed to have the house barred from inside out. You know, and I don't know what kind of conversation was had to, you know, put the bars up. Because it's not, I heard they wasn't from, well, no, yeah, I think they were on the outside or something like that. But it was barred so you couldn't, like, get out the window. You would actually have to, no, yeah, I think they were from the inside. So she can actually, if she had to, unscrew, you know, the screws that held the bolts that held the bars up. I think that was the case. But in any case, it was bars that she couldn't escape the house. So, you know, she was trying to get out and trying to find an escape, but all the windows were barred, even the door. So she built her own prison, and the judgment came about from the Most High. She was rebellious to a man. And especially according to the religion that they were in, that was the customs, and it's, closely related to our, you know, our belief, because it really, you see, he mentions Bible, and they always mention the Bible, and they mention the chosen people of God. So they talk about more of the Bible than the Quran. But because all our people, as Israelites, still have that spiritual, so to speak, element of the natural customs and ways of being an Israelite according to the custom laws of Moses, which was given to us through Moses by the Most High Yahweh. And we always say Bahashem Yahweh Shai. But so, kind of like, damn, that's our own people. And so she was going off. And you women are going off. And y'all going to be judged just like her, but there's going to be missiles. I don't know. It might be a similar situation. It could be any kind of judgment, but the overall judgment is the missiles coming here to destroy the whole land. And y'all going to be included in that with the Edomites, which is so-called white people, if y'all don't get right. There's such thing as an elect and an elect lady. And our faith and our belief is that they're going to be exempt from that judgment, pursuing the Ezekiel 9:4. But this is way out of pocket with the Most High. It even says that in the scriptures, They refuse. And the young widows, refuse because they, especially this time, you're young and you want to have fun. Like that Cindy Lauper, some girls just want to have fun. Some men take a beautiful girl and hide her from the world. And I guess that's kind of what she felt like. But at the same time, she was meeting the powerful men along with Malcolm X. I guess it's when he left and then she had to deal with the children. It was what kind of maybe put it over the top, but they're always going to want that independence or some kind of show of being dissatisfied to where they want more, or things are too strict in the house, things are too heavy up, in their the ministry or whatever they're in. That's why they love college so much, because it's already a place prepared for them. They always got student loan and place where you could, stay on campus and you can have friends. All you do is study, you get your degree, you get money. But a lot of times that doesn't come through because they don't really have no patience for it. And a lot of end up partying and all that. But some of them reach that level and realize that when they do get the job, it's not what they thought it was, and in some form and fashion, they have to kind of like start all over and be a minimum wage worker and to work their way up. But anyway, that's it. I didn't want to make this too long. Shalom. Hopefully it's that fine.